Well, welcome back to Red Shoes Diary. I hope you've had an excellent week. I hope you've been with friends, family, loved ones. I hope you've got to travel and wander around. Maybe you got to get outside and see some of this, uh, I guess you call fall, coming in. We've had some awesome weather lately. Got blessed to spend time with the family this weekend. Went to a place, and it's an underground mine. I think 1920 they concreted it, but apparently it was in operation from all indications before him. But you know, I think it's 1920. Might have been 1902. I can't remember. But anyway, it's a portal. You can still travel it. Still got mine carts. You get on, you go so far underground, and they got animatronics. So where they're sitting there talking, horses, people, and they tell you like when the way mine was maybe 1800s late. Then you go on up and it's maybe 20 years or whatever, and like the one guy he's talking, he was an immigrant, came there and how hard life was where he's at, and he came over here and talked about what he's making, and back then it was all dug by hand, and mules, horses. There's pictures. They got pictures of ones using goats. I've seen pictures of donkeys, mules, mini horses, and it's pretty interesting to see some of that stuff. You look at what all these people, how hard they worked, what all they went through. That was the first coal mine, from my understanding, that used run electric lines in there, and that's how the machinery worked, was through the electric lines instead of using manual power, or horses and stuff. And then they showed up each time certain area they modern, like people working together. One where they use actually a impact air hammer type drill to drill into to set their charges and stuff instead of by hand, and show them where they's drilling up into the ceiling to bolt the ceiling up so it wouldn't collapse. And then they elevate on up to what they call the miners. There's a word for it, I'm missing it. But anyway, big wide, it just digs through the ground. It digs it, brings it out, goes onto a belt, and then they will pull the carts underneath it, load it up on it. Away you go. Continuous miner. That's what I'm trying to come up with. And then he's explaining, there's at the end, there's a big video showing on the walls, how all that was started, what all went into it and all. And it's pretty awesome deal. That one year they had the highest output in one shift at that time of any coal mine anywhere. And they said, I won't think there's like 3,500 people working, whatever it was, however it was set up. But what it figured out to be was that each one of those, that includes people in maintenance, people, whatever, maybe in payroll, whatever, anyway, on that whole shift, that they had each person would have had to dug not hardly 5 tons apiece by hand to fill it up. See the rail deals, with a train, it was like 1.5 miles long. That's how many, they filled up with coal. And it was a record for a long time. I mean, you look at that, that's pretty awesome to physically dig out like that, haul out, and load it. And it's funny, you all see all that. They got pictures like the old railroad stations up there, and at one time these 2 passenger trains come through every day, like in the 20s and 30s. They talk about in the 40s during the World War II how you would get a pass. You didn't have to go into the service, could be drafted in the ways, because mining was listed as a job that need to be done, period. Coal had to keep coming in because coal is what fed the factories. That one coal was owned by U.S. Steel, and that's what run their forges stuff to make the steel they needed. And they didn't have to go because they was a necessary worker. If they didn't, they stay and work because they need them to help her at the home front. So that was, you look at that, how interesting a lot of stuff was, and you think about how hard those people worked and what they done, and a lot of them they was paid company script, lived in company houses, cost them, I think some of them was like $7 a month. Even their own coal, they had to pay for whatever coal they burnt, keep them warm. And then the script was only good in the company coal stores. And that's where you could spend it. It wasn't like American dollars, spend it anywhere. That was, one of their company stores. So pretty much, it was almost indentured servitude, however you want to put that. But they did their job. They raised their families. People come on, it's definitely hard work, tough work. No two ways about it. And I sit and listen to people complain today about how tough they have it, what a hard job they have, or a lot of times you just hear people sitting in line at maybe at a red light, light turns green, blowing the horn. You need to go, or standing in line. Nowadays a lot of people don't have manners. You stand there and fix pay for your stuff. They'll start to step in front of you, and you just sort of look at them like, really? It's just impressive how people today is so much in their own mind. And I wonder, if we took people back to that day, could they survive? We took them so used to all of our modern day joys we have. Instant TV, instant whatever you want to listen to, music, videos, you video chat your family, you can do whatever, it doesn't matter. All this stuff you got going on, nowadays. Everybody expects that. Oh, my electricity's out, What am I gonna do for 30 minutes an hour? Oh, how all this goes on with people just amazes me sometimes. We forget that. We forget where we come from, folks, I believe. Got talking, a friend of mine went and helped him today do some stuff. And we was talking about, health issues, because he's definitely got them. Definitely worse shape than me. But how us being younger, how we didn't expect at our ages to be where we're at in our life. Health-wise is different stuff. But, and I made a comment to him the other day when I was looking at what we was going to do. About getting up every morning, rolling over, put my feet on the bed, and just talking to God first thing in the morning, telling him thank you that, I was able to roll over, able to put my feet on the bed. I was thankful for the roof over my head, house warm, food fixing to go eat on the table, make it. Just how thankful for answered prayers and stuff. And today, something was said about that. And he was, you said that to me the other day. Like I said, his health issues are pretty rough. He said, and that really got me thinking about that. He said to be thankful. He said, for all means, purposes. And he was like me, he didn't expect to live past 30, but here we are. He said, really how blessed we are. He said, I hadn't thought about that. And I looked at him, I asked him, I said, well, I got a question for you. I said, are you saved? I said, you know Jesus? Yeah, sure am. I said, well, that's good to know. I said, I had never, nothing we'd ever talked about. Been quite a few years since I seen him. And actually sit and have a talk or whatever, conversation and stuff. And like I told him, I said, well, you don't know what that means to me, hear about it. I know whichever one goes, we'll see the other next, you know what I mean? That's a good feeling, folks. But when you're busy out here running around, think about that. Think about the people who's come before with you, maybe it's your ancestors. Think about your parents, your grandparents, what all they brought to you. Maybe that's not the physical, but maybe they brought to you reading the Bible, praying, going to church, talking about God and stuff. Probably the greatest thing we can leave our family is that we have faith, we have belief, that we ain't ashamed to talk about it or tell people about it or ask people about it. You know, if you, I look at all them videos we watched, stuff they showed there, and the pictures of the way it was back in them days, and I look at how fast our world is today. My dad was talking about just in below here where he grew up at. It'd take my grandfather all day to take a load of, they call it greasewood, his load of more or less for railroad ties, up to town. And, from here to where that's at from my house is 5 miles maybe, as it is now. The road's changed. Even in my time, it's changed. But with a team of mules and stuff and load, Dad said he'd be gone about all day. Time he left, he got up there, and I'm sure it took a few hours just to get up there, loaded, the way the old road was. Then he probably had to wait in line a little bit just to unload. Then maybe he got him about to eat a little cafe or something. Maybe he spent, dime or quarter on himself. And time he got back down. And today, jump in, you expect to be in town, 5, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, you're uptown. So much faster we are. But that is awesome. Life goes on. Life speeds up. A lot of things get better. Some things don't. Some of the stuff going on in the world definitely ain't getting better. I mean, of course, the Bible tells you what's done in the dark eventually will be brought out in light, and it'll be called good, and stuff that's called good will be called evil. So, but it's fulfilling the prophecies, and that's the way life's supposed to be. But anyway, folks, be thankful. The generations done come and gone. All they done, stop every now and then, maybe remember them where you're driving down the road or whatever you're doing. But leave your own generation of legacy. Leave your own generation, the generations of your family that comes after you. Let them know you're saved. Let them know that you believe in the good Lord. That you're here for them. Leave them that legacy. You leave them all this, millions. You believe them, millions of dollars. Take care of them all. That way, everybody don't have to worry about working. Nobody has to do this. Nobody has to do that. But all that stuff down here ain't worth 2 cents when you're gone, folks. You can't take it with you. The good book does says, our treasure's up there, not down here. So just remember that. It might make their life easier, but did you make their afterlife easier if you never talk to them about the good Lord? Well, folks, I've run my mouth again, so I guess I'll let you folks go. That last one a little long. Maybe this one hardly as long. Anyway, everybody, I hope the good Lord takes a liking to you, not too soon. I pray you take time to talk and pray to the good Lord. Maybe talk to your friends and family, loved ones, maybe a stranger. Spark up the conversation. Maybe I have to ask them about it, or give them your own little testimony, or nudge them away to the good Lord and let them know you believe in them. Just have an awesome week, folks. And as always, Austin.